Creative Space, Creative Interpretation. How is everybody? How you doing? That good? Come on. It's excellent.
You're really good at this.
I just feel like, listen, everybody here looks great. Everybody here has a camera out, and it looks like a big fancy one. You all are getting the audio. Let's give some audio.
I always thought of Keely Hughes as this like wild intellect who could bring such smart and intelligent perspectives to a conversation. I didn't know hype woman was also on your resume.
My dream, actually. So if anyone's hiring, the strike did just end. I don't hype up anyone holding a camera. Well, I know we only have an hour together. Everyone here is really excited to hear from you. Probably a lot of people who subscribe to you on YouTube. Who here subscribes to Casey? 100%. I feel like 3 people who are like, what does he do? They actually just wandered in here. Well, I want to jump right into it because I think you're talking to a lot of creators, a lot of people who were inspired by the way that you built your empire, frankly.
Appreciate it.
So yeah, let's talk a little bit, I think, from the beginning about how you create. I think that this conversation should basically follow from idea to actual creation. So let's start with you as the observer. So one of your greatest creative strengths, I think, is being just an impeccable observer. You know, when an audience watches your videos, and that includes me, I think that, you know, as you're discovering things on camera, we're discovering them at the same time. And so how have you sort of honed your ability to capture these sort of quiet, indirect moments, you know, that other filmmakers, I think, tend to miss?
God, I told you she was like a smart intellect. That is such a deep question, Akila. You know, I think that I early on, it just kind of was super evident to me that like, what's not interesting is what's happening on your camera like this, or back in the day like this, or your camcorder like. What's interesting is what's happening on the other side of that. What's happening in the real world. And I think that your job as a photographer, a cinematographer, storyteller, filmmaker, YouTuber, your job is to share that interestingness. My least favorite conversations, despite saying this at a talk for Sony, my least favorite conversations are technical ones, because who gives a shit? Like, I want to know what you're doing with those tools, not about the tools.
Right.
So what I'm always looking for is that interestingness, and I'm my eyes are always up, and the camera can be here. When I see that moment of interestingness, the litmus is always like, do I care about that? And it can be something subtle, it can be something huge, it can be a little nothing, or it can be something that actually is meaningful. But once I recognize something as interesting, that's when it's time to leverage the tool. Whatever's in your hand, whether it's your phone or like one of these big fancy cameras that you see under glass here, that's when the tool's job is to capture and communicate that interestingness. So I don't remember exactly what your question was. What did you ask me, Akila?
It's about, I think, honing those instincts, right? Because like, I think as filmmakers, especially when you're first starting out, you're just like, you're not getting enough, you're not even capturing enough to edit anything together, but you're just so excited to be able to do it. And I think that it requires a level of relaxing into it and paying attention. So it's like, how did you get to, I guess, a place where you figured out what was interesting to tell a story? Like, I'll give you an example. So you just did a video about how you shot this amazing commercial for Lululemon in Vancouver.
Sure.
And there was a shot at the end where they were wrapping up, and your co-star in the commercial like dabbed you up. And it's like 1 second, but it's like something that a lot of people, I think, would have missed. They would have just been like, the excitement is that someone is yelling, not like there was action around. So it's like, is that just who you are naturally, or do you think as a filmmaker you're looking for...
That is such a specific and great example. So like, what the video was is Lululemon had like a big, huge, multi-million-dollar 30-second TV commercial shoot starring DK Metcalf, like an NFL superstar, Wayne Gretzky, the greatest hockey player to ever live, and then like the funny-looking guy from YouTube. And I just had like a bit part in it where I skateboard through the frame at the beginning. But I got to be on this huge fucking set where they had all the cameras and the camera cars and union crews, and probably not union.
Maybe not union, you know.
All these crew, like it was a huge production. And the only thing they said to me is, please don't film anything during the shoot. So I like gave my cell phone to my agent who was there. And I was like, just record it. Like record wherever you can. And that's what she did. She got these like cute little sneaky shots of me. But when it was over, Like I saw the crew gather around and we've been trying to get this one shot. And they're like, we're not gonna get it, we're over time, we have to kill him. The director's like, one more take. And I think that he got it, and I saw the crew kind of coalescing in a celebratory way. So I went over to Carolyn and I was like, can I have my phone? And I took it and I just skateboarded over towards the noise. And what I was seeing in real life was so, like it was people celebrating. It was like the most lovely thing, like we did it. It was like a collective celebration of accomplishing a collective goal. And as I rolled up, I get tapped on my shoulder and he's like, yes. And it was just my POV. It wasn't like this. I just turned and went like that. And then sure enough, when I'm sifting through the footage, I was looking through it and I was like, yes, that captures the emotion.
Yeah.
You know, my big brother Van, he might have stolen this from someone. My brother Van is my favorite YouTuber, my favorite filmmaker in the world.
Yeah, the Spirited Men.
The Spirited Men. And Van had this video where he talked about the role, the job of the artist. The filmmaker, the photographer, the painter, the musician, the actor. Your job as an artist is to communicate the feelings you had when you created the work through the work itself. You know, like, why do we cry when we listen to like an Adele or Celine Dion song? Because they were probably crying when they wrote it.
Yeah.
Like, why do we like get angry and want to jump up when we hear like the right Bob Dylan song? Because he was angry when he wrote that. And like that is the magic of like when you look at Guernica, why do you feel the frustration and the rage of like and that's a painting. And like, so for me as a filmmaker, like in that moment, it was just my cell phone and it was kind of a nothing of a moment, but there was real excitement in that moment.
Yeah.
And my job was to grab that, and I did. And then when I was editing and scrubbing through, I was like, oh, that shitty little cell phone clip, which should have never been using the like 3 lens, it should have been using the 0.5 lens, but I didn't realize that because I wasn't looking at my phone. That captures that like little moment of celebration, little happiness.
Yeah.
That was their artistic merit. The movie that won Best Picture is almost never the same movie that had the highest gross in box office receipts.
True.
The exception was like Gone with the Wind or some shit.
Yeah, The Godfather
maybe.
maybe. Yeah.
But that to me is such a vivid correlation that like quality doesn't always, like McDonald's sells way more food than whatever Michelin 5-star restaurant is in New York City. Doesn't mean McDonald's is the best food or what's best for the world at large. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think mass appeal is often like a really shitty ambition.
Yeah.
I like, you know, like New Kids on the Block, we're the biggest group in the world for like all of the 80s. When was the last time you listened to, that whole line is
right
wrecked
stuff?
because
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the name of one of their songs. My point exactly.
Yeah.
You got the right stuff.
Yeah.
It's still in there. Doesn't mean the song's good. It's
Right.
a shit song.
Yeah.
But like, you know, there might be that small band that you love, that band that never broke through, and they wrote something like that really affects you. So I think mass appeal is a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think like, you know, I look at again my brother Van when he started his YouTube channel. He was like, my shit's so weird, Casey. Nobody's gonna want to watch it. And I was like, you might be right, but I think someone might want to watch it. Like not as many people will watch your weird shit, Van, as will watch like how long can you stand in a circle to win $1 million?
Yeah.
But the 10 people that watch your extremely deeply thoughtful, like introspective psycho videos, my brother Van, they're amazing. Like they're not gonna forget them. Versus people watching sensational popcorn Transformer style films, which I watch them too. I don't think about them again. They don't change me as a person.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like purpose will always trump appeal.
Wow. I mean, that's, I think, a word. Purpose will always trump appeal. And I guess the follow-up to that is like, are you making videos for yourself or are you making videos for an audience? Like, what do you enjoy about it, and does it have to appeal to other people for you to want to make it?
I mean, for me uniquely, no. But I'm in a privileged seat to say that.
Yeah, you already got paid. So.
Yeah, and I already have my audience, and like it's a wonderfully luxurious place. And there's definitely been videos that I made because I needed to maintain, like when I stopped doing my daily vlog, it was because like there's this thing. I don't know if you guys are on YouTube. If you've ever posted a YouTube video, you know this thing. But the only YouTube comments that hurt are the ones that say something that you agree with.
Yeah.
You're like, people can say bullshit about you, mean shit all day long. You just rolls off. But when someone says something that's the truth, I remember seeing a video, it was like towards the end of my daily vlog, I was like, it just seems like Casey's uploading to upload, like he doesn't care anymore. And I was like, man, that goes deep.
Dragged. I knew that you were like a big deal because at that point you had already gotten like 1 million followers from doing these daily videos. And they were also like so detailed that I was like, this man doesn't sleep. Like, how do you edit this in a day? And so I am curious because I think a lot of people found you then, and now you don't do it daily, but it also does seem like you get a lot more time with your creativity. What do you prefer? And like, do you think, you know, one way is better than the other?
You know, it's tough. I think like it comes back to what your goals are. And I do think on a place like YouTube, there's an opportunity to build a rapport with your audience if you're uploading with some degree of consistency.
Yeah.
You know, I think like Mr. Beast is a prime example. You know, he fluctuates from uploading once a week to once a month, but you know him.
Yeah.
You know Jimmy. His audience knows him. They know when they click on it, it's going to be Jimmy's face fucking screaming at you. You know what's coming because he's taken years, a decade plus, to build that relationship with his audience. And I built it in a much more compressed time frame. You know, like when I uploaded my first daily vlog, I'd already been on YouTube for 7 or 8 years. In 7 or 8 years, I've accumulated 100 million views, which I'm very proud of.
Hell yeah.
And I think something like 280,000 or 410,000 subscribers. And from the first daily vlog, 18 months later, I was at 10 million subscribers.
Yeah.
And a few billion views. So like my trajectory was like this. It was this bumpy, slow, very subtle incline, and then just exploded. And I credit that explosion not to making better work, but to people understanding who I was.
Yeah.
And some people, more than not, were like, I enjoy watching this kind of content. Oh, there's more. The next morning they'd wake up and they're like, oh, there's a little bit more. Continue that for like 800 straight days and you build this really profound relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
And my job, my role now is just to make the work as good as I can make it, and the audience kept showing up.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I think like to try and do that today would be very different, because I think the appetite of viewers has changed so much in the last decade, and I think there's nothing novel about putting out work in such a manic pace. I think the world has really changed, but back then it was a very effective way of building a relationship with an audience.
And so now that you are like free of that, because I do think like, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like to me that would be really scary to have to live up to that. And also like to be so beholden to an audience that expects you to be available every day. So like, do you feel freer now? And also like, has it affected how you approach making work? Like, can you give it a lot more time, or like, is it still like you're making it frantically in a day?
No, it's made me worse. Like I think I was like the best version when I was uploading daily, because and I talked about this in so many of my daily vlogs. But like what is it? Perfection is the enemy of good enough, or something.
Yeah, yeah. Don't make perfection the enemy of good.
Yeah, and like when you have an obligation to post every day, and it felt like there was a gun to my head. I had to post every day, self-imposed. I was holding the gun. I didn't have time to stop and think like, is this a worthy idea?
Right.
Like there were some days where I had nothing, and I'm like, fuck, I got nothing. How can I come up with 5 to 7 minutes of interestingness? That pressure is so positive for an artist, because like I don't have that pressure anymore. And on top of that, like I couldn't afford rent back then, and now I'm like, I have a degree of financial security where like I'm not worried about paying rent this month or paying for lunch tomorrow. And what that does is it's like I get into my office and it's like, you know, time to make the donuts, let's get to work and make a video. And then it's like, you know what else is cool? Watching TV. And I just fuck off every day. And I have nothing to show for it. So that,
I don't know, you make it sound pretty tight.
that pressure of having to do it is really positive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I'm old school in this, but like, when I had an office job and I had to show up every day, it made me a little better for some reason. Like, when I was really, really broke and had to support my family, I wanted to be the best. I worked in a restaurant as a dishwasher. I was the best dishwasher. On a Saturday night when we were down to 1 dishwasher, it was supposed to be 2, that bus bucket was never full. I was the best dishwasher, because I had to be.
Yeah.
And now, like 3 dishes, I would be like, I'm gonna watch TV. Like, so that pressure is really positive.
Yeah.
And I don't think it has to be as manic a video every day to view that pressure. But I think putting requirements on yourself ones that have consequences.
Yeah.
I didn't post every day, my income would have gone away. Having that is ultimately for an artist a really positive thing.
Yeah.
If you'll let me babble for more about it, a little bit longer about
Please
it.
do.
There's also something which is like second guessing yourself, which if you have an inkling of creativity in your being, which we all do, you have second guessed yourself before. This picture's not good enough to post, this video's not good enough, that idea's not good enough, I'm not gonna tell him about this, I'm not gonna tell her because he's stupid.
Yeah.
When you have to post a fucking video every day,
It's good enough.
there's no second guessing yourself. It is just go.
Yeah.
It is just go. You don't get to look back. You don't get to pause and think. That last video I uploaded about the Lululemon thing, which I was really proud of that video.
Yeah.
That turned out really fun. That took me like 2 months to make because I was just like, man, stupid idea. That doesn't work. Maybe I'm back to watching TV. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
And when I had a daily video, I never had the opportunity to second guess my own creativity or ideas. And that made me that means some work I put out was a 6 instead of a 10. That makes you better. Like finishing something, putting the stamp on it, and moving on makes you better. It's having all of these unfinished things that flame the fire of insecurity, and it scare you and make you not want to create. And forcing yourself to finish, move on, it does make you better. And I miss that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I also think like there's something to having another chance the next day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, that one wasn't it.
What's
but-
the guy's name who shot that actress?
Oh, Alec Baldwin?
Alec Baldwin.
What a way to describe Alec Baldwin.
No, before he became a murderer.
Yeah, before that.
Talked about his role on 30 Rock.
Love it.
And he said he thinks it's his best performance because unlike the other roles that he's renowned for, like Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, or any of his fantastic performances, he got to have bad episodes.
Yeah.
And reinvent his character and flesh out his character. Like if you think like what's your favorite show? If you think about The Office, like Steve Carell was kind of a dick in the first season of The Office, where he was like a jerk, like not likable.
Yeah.
And then in season 2 when he closed the deal with like at the Chili's, you guys know what I'm talking about? I talked to myself. Immediately you were like, I fucking love that guy.
Yeah.
And he reinvented his character. And I think episodic anything lets you do that.
Yeah.
And it is a way of refining your craft and getting better and better and better. Unlike putting everything you've got into one thing, and if that one thing doesn't turn out the way you had hoped it to turn out, then I think that the consequences will be more dramatic.
Hell yeah. Great answer. Sometimes that word doesn't mean anything anymore, but I would like to be as specific as possible. So when I watch your work, one thing that does strike me is like how great of a documentarian you are. Like if, you know, in the future your daughters could watch it, their kids could see it, like you really have such a great, I think, just library of work that talks of like, it can speak to the times we're in, it speaks to the city you're in. And so I'm curious if you're a fan of documentaries and if there are any that you've seen throughout your life where you're like, the way they told that story has like reframed how I think about telling stories.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think I've been more affected by documentaries than narrative films, not from a creative standpoint, but from a purely inspirational standpoint. Like, when you're not bound to the limits of reality, you can make your story anything. You make it about fucking living in space with laser swords and fucking talking Chewbacca's and stuff. that plays. But when it's a documentary, it has to be rooted in reality. And, like, Little Dieter Needs to Fly is maybe my favorite film, one of my favorite films. It's a movie Werner Herzog made about a guy who was a child in Germany in World War II. And he was a little kid. And the movie starts and he's telling the story about the Americans bombing his town, his mom like going in, running into the basement, and he runs up to the attic. And from like the top floor, he sees an American pilot fly by in a P-51 Mustang and like salute the kid. And from that moment, he's like, I will do anything in the fucking world to fly. And he like escaped Germany, poor kid, moved to the US, couldn't speak English, joined the Air Force, learned how to fly. They sent him to Vietnam. On his first mission, he gets shot down. And then spends 5 years in a POW camp, like eating maggots to stay alive, escapes, like his friend dies. He's like eating live snakes to survive. He gets rescued. Like, that movie will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Like, it will
Sounds bad.
destroy you. Like, when I found out this guy, Dieter Dangler, the real human, died like 5 or 6 years ago, at like age 90, I cried. That was the bond I had with this total stranger from this documentary. That movie will make you burst into tears. And it's like when you see something that good, you're like, I can't stop until I'm that good. There are like when was the last time you listened to like Prince, Purple Rain?
Oh my God.
With noise canceling headphones on, and you're just like, I want to quit because I'll never make anything in my life it's as good as what I'm experiencing right now. Like that is the ultimate level of inspiration.
Can I give you a full sidebar on this?
Yes.
So, Purple Rain, okay, so in New York, you know how you all have like movies in the park? You have like Central Park, Bryant Park, like in the summer it's pretty lit. I think Bryant Park's on Mondays. So I love New York, I miss New York every day, I live in LA. They have something called Cinespia where they, in like the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, show films.
Okay.
And so I went to see Purple Rain on the 4th of July, not this year, but the year before. And everyone sang along. Also, if you haven't seen Purple Rain, the movie is like, you know, the storytelling leaves a lot. It could have been a TV show. I feel like there's just like a lot of open plot lines.
Could have been 15 minutes.
Totally. But when he gets to Purple Rain at the end, you're like, I don't even care how bad.
Nothing matters. Nothing matters.
And everyone sang along, and we were all like, that's an opus. Like, that's the peak of your craft. He looks amazing. It's like a 10-minute song. It's excellent.
It's already, and I think that like truly great work should inspire.
Yeah.
You should watch that and be like, you know, I strive to make someone feel through my work the way that this individual, this artist, Prince, Werner Herzog, made me feel via their work. I think that is the ultimate. It's like, you know, I'm a huge Tarantino fan.
Yeah.
But the movie that I study the most of his is Jackie Brown.
Oh my God.
It's the
What
movie
a,
that, in
if
my
you haven't
opinion,
seen Jackie Brown, as a black woman, I'm imploring you to see this. This is
Watch. How many of you seen Inglourious Basterds?
everybody.
How many of you seen Jackie Brown? That's not bad.
Actually, yeah, these are filmmakers. Maybe
But
it's just-
Jackie Brown, like, nothing really happens.
No.
It's really a play. Then it is a movie, like, but in that, it's the nuance, it is mastery. It is filmmaking mastery. And it's so good that much like Purple Rain, it's one of those works of art that I watch that and I feel defeated.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I will never make anything that good again.
All right, here's a circle jerky question, but like, is
Wow.
there anything,
Let's go.
are there any videos of yours where when you see them again, you're like, I can't believe I did that? Because I feel like everyone probably can relate to that on some level, especially when you dedicate a lot of time, or it's like a really hard concept, and you land the plane, like, is there anything where you watch and you're like, oh, that, like, how, am I?
Yeah, totally. But like, and then for reasons that not because I admire them for their, because I think they're great, but like Make It Count, which is still one of my most watched videos. Like,
Oh yeah, that's how I met.
like yeah.
Yeah, you had a clip of me and Megan.
No, you were in Do What You Can.
Do What You Can. That's before it. Yes, this.
Make It Count was the predecessor to that. But this is a movie about my friend Max and I kind of stealing a budget from Nike to make a commercial, and we blew the whole budget traveling the world. And we went around the world in 10 days with like hundreds of stops and all over the place, and we made a video about what it means to like make it count in life. And I'm 42 now, and I avoid travel like it's the plague. Like
Does it really look like
my
that?
in-laws coming to town, and my wife's like, let's go somewhere romantic. Like, let's get away. And I'm like, yeah, like, why don't we stay like in Upper West Side? A couple nights in Midtown. Like, I don't want to travel for anything. In that video, like, people don't believe me when I say this. Like, I used to not tell people the budget for that video, but I'll tell you now. Like, the budget for that video was $70,000, which may sound like a lot. But like the craft services, the snack budget on an average Nike commercial exceeds that. And we spent $90,000 on the flights alone. Like we paid for it out of pocket, like that was our money. And it was only economy flights, and we didn't sleep. It was just go, 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 go. And like sometimes we couldn't find flights. Like we were in Uganda at one point in time, and we were trying to get to Tanzania or some fucked up trip like that. The only thing we could do is get on this bus. And how they loaded this bus is you'd have to go in the front in a single row, and then it would be like 8 people across. You're just sitting like this, and like the person in front of me had a chicken, a live chicken. And you get on the bus, and it's an overnight bus, and you're just sitting there like this, and it takes off, and the lights turn off, and then the loudest like Christian sermons you've ever heard, just blaring, like the whole night. And I remember reaching over and opening the window to get some air because all you're breathing is people's exhale. And like, I slide the window open 1 inch before the person who's on the other side slams it back and slams my hand in there. Like, how dare you let in fresh air? That was a 10-hour bus ride with no bathroom breaks. Like, Max and I took that on the chin. We're like, this is exciting. I can't for the life of me get back to a place where I was so excited to make a video that like that was interesting or exciting. That sounds like torture right now.
Yeah.
And that's what those 10 days were.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
But then when you
manic
watch
go.
it, you're like,
And I watch it and I'm like, well, when I watch it, I don't see it for whatever the positives of the video. All I know is like,
you're smelling
what
the breath again.
the fuck were we thinking? Like, what were we thinking making that video? Like, you truly had to be psycho to have that idea and then try to realize it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like old and conservative in my decision making now. Like, I would just like be like, nah. Just be like, go get
So
a
you guys got
smack.
reeds,
I'm just gonna
right?
get a smack instead. Yeah, like I wouldn't do it, but I certainly had that when I was younger. And when I look at my films now, I remember being in that place.
Yeah. Well, we are at, we're in a room with a lot of people with gear. I think people probably want to talk about your kit a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into it.
And so I think, you know, your videos vary, right? From
Sure.
like big drone videos, videos that are like super cinematic, some that are on the fly. And so beyond just quality, because I think obviously you would choose the best looking of all of the like, you know, quality, but what other metrics do you kind of factor in for building your kit from, you know, if you're just doing a vlog on the fly to like a big commercial for someone else? Like, how do you factor in?
I think something that's really undervalued because it's so easy to access the very best. Like, you know, like my main camera is an A7S3. A7S3 is near perfection. Like the image you're getting from it on a 40, whatever the screen is, like you're not going to tell the difference in the naked eye from that in a fucking 35 millimeter. Treated right, if everything's done right. Like it is as close to perfection as possible. But I think now there's this thing which is because you can as in make it perfect, you should make it perfect. At the expense of what is attached emotionally, narratively, to the aesthetic of a shot.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is like cell phone footage, iPhone footage, which is my least favorite. I fucking hate it. The reason why I hate it also is the reason why it's virtuous. I hate it because it looks like every video that the mom takes of their kid, every knucklehead who's filming themselves dance on TikTok, like that is what cell phone footage is. But there's a tool to that.
Yeah.
There's a utility to that. We talked about the Lululemon video.
Yeah.
I was told not to film. So then all the footage you're seeing of me on set looks like those moms taking videos of their kids. And that evokes a certain sentiment in you, which is like, oh, this is sneaky, or this is home video, or this is something. And I think that that's what's overlooked. I just made a video with my friend Andrew Schultz, who's a comedian, and we shot it in the New York City subway system. And it's this really manic, fast-paced, fun video. And look, I have every piece of kit in the world. Like I have everything that you could want to have at my disposal. And I wanted to make a music video in a moving subway car. And I think 99 out of 100 filmmakers would be like, get the 3-axis gimbal.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, no, there's no gimbal here. It has to be handheld. I want to feel the imperfections of a handheld camera because it will evoke this sense that it wasn't made by an agency who hired a DP who said, because we can make it perfectly stable, we will.
Right.
I wanted to evoke this sense that Andrew made this video with his friend. They just thought of it and did it. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
To accomplish that, it had to be handheld. So that intentionality with the hardware you choose and connecting that intent, that intentionality, to what you're trying to do creatively, narratively, what you're trying to say is something I think is overlooked.
Yeah.
Because gear is so fucking fun. It's so cool. You see the shit they have here?
Yeah.
It's fucking cool. You always want to use your coolest stuff. You always want to get the latest stuff. And I think pausing and saying, what am I trying to accomplish? There's something very necessary about that. I just bought whatever the last, so my first ever video camera was a Sony TRV-11.
Wow.
2000, yeah.
Jesus.
That was like before you were born.
Yeah, totally.
But it shoots to tape. So I did all this research and I found that the last camera was that used the same CCD, the same 680 by 420, 640 by 480 CCD, to have that 90s video camera look, but it actually is shot to a hard drive, like a moving hard drive in a Handycam. Sony made them in the late 2000s, mid to late 2000s, and I bought one. So it's compatible with my computer now, but it's shooting that 90s aesthetic.
Yeah.
And every time I shoot with that, it looks like what I'm trying to make it look. It makes you feel like that's old.
Yeah.
In a way that's let's do it in post. Anyone who says let's do it in post is immediately fired from my productions.
Yeah.
As if I have production people on there. But if I did, if you said let's do it in post, like get the fuck off the set.
Yeah.
Like do it in camera.
Or nothing.
You fucking coward. What are we talking about?
You know.
Riled up over here.
Well, I think the gear is super important because I think you make a great point about like the best way to tell the story and what you're trying to evoke. Like even in writing, which is more of my background, there's a great book which I think you all should read. It's by a guy named Raphael Bob Waxberg. He writes BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
He has a book called Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory, and it's a series of essays. But every essay it's so clear that he found the best way to tell the story that he wanted to tell. So like an example, he tells a story about being deeply in love with this woman who's not interested in him, and she finds him annoying. And so he tells the story through a series of limericks, so you get annoyed as you're reading about it. And I think the same is true of like filming, where it's like,
Sure.
if this has to be told in a way that feels like you're with your friends and this could have happened at 5 o'clock and you just decided to do it, then handheld makes sense. And so how do you develop that instinct? Because again, I think a lot of people here would say, well, I just wanted to look better than everybody else's stuff, and that's my like gift. But how do you also like pivot into the creative agency, I guess?
It's hard. I think you have to develop your own language. Like, one of my least favorite things is like when someone makes a video about something that is supposedly spontaneous, like proposing to their girlfriend or like, I don't know, telling someone they like pick something spontaneous, but it's shot in like 4K 120 stabilized with the camera at half-inch. Like, I have no fucking relationship with this.
Yeah.
You make a video about how much you love your family and it's you and your children running through a wheat field looking like, you know, like looking like some feature film. Like, I don't trust that.
Yeah.
When I see that, I'm like, how many takes, bro? How many times did you have to scream at your 6-year-old, Susie?
The camera's over here, not
Over here, eyes up here. Like, I don't believe that for a fucking second.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very literal example of like, there is a connection we have, even though like, we all recognize it, because if you're in this room, you have some knowledge of the technicalities. But someone like my wife, she's not a filmmaker, she might not recognize it. She just won't like it. This didn't mean anything to me. Why? I don't know. It just didn't mean anything.
Yeah, it looks like a commercial.
Yeah, like I have a bunch of those films where I like surprise my wife and like, not on purpose, but like the camera's just thrown down. It's always a fucked up shot. And in what you're not seeing, your brain fills it in like this is real. So communicating the realness, the authenticity supersedes what you're missing.
Yeah.
Or it's technical, like what it's lacking technically. And I think because now we're in this world where like everybody in this room with whatever camera's in your hand, you can make almost any movie.
Yeah.
That there is this propensity to like, no, because I can, I should.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Citizen Kane, like to date, one of the greatest films ever made, was still edited with scissors and Scotch tape. Like they couldn't, and they still did.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very important reminder.
Yeah. When I think about your career overall, and it's like it's your life, but it's also your career, I feel like you have these very defined chapters, right? You have the HBO era, you and your brother, you're getting paid to make something that works for cable. Then you go rogue, and it's just Casey doing it every day. No sleep, hotel, plane, hotel lobby, no sleep. Again, like over and over. And then now you're kind of in this, like, you have, I think, more space to figure out. So I guess I'm curious, where do you see yourself going? Because I do think that you are, for a lot of people, this beacon of like, well, he's going to be the one to push it forward, or like, he is pushing it forward. So what do you think is next, and what are you excited for?
I have a very unsatisfying answer, which is like, one, I've been very lazy lately. And I can give excuses.
You just ran a marathon.
Yeah, I can give excuses that make sense, like playing with my kids and stuff. It is nice playing with my kids, but
Yeah.
I've genuinely been like nowhere near as productive lately. What the fuck are they doing back there?
Basketball.
Guys, give it a rest.
Just being distracted.
I've been lazy lately, so like, hey, it's not a real excuse, but like, I'm definitely at this place. Like, I'm in my mid 40s. I've achieved a degree of financial confidence where like I'm able to make enough living to support myself. I'm at a place in my life which I hope everyone gets to experience, which is that I really can choose to do what I want to do. And the truth is, all I want to do is be alone in my office making YouTube videos. Like, I just want to make these, like, you should make a feature. Like, no. You ever made a feature? Not fun.
Yeah.
Like, being alone, making these little videos, doing that Rick Rubin thing, which is like, you finish it, or you put this thing out, you tweak, then you click play, and you're like, yes, and you watch back your own work, and you get that feeling. That is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And all I want to do right now is kind of chase that. There's nothing in the spectrum of options for me that excites me anywhere near as much as that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing stopping me from doing that except for my own laziness, which I've really been leaning into lately.
Well, can I just like ask about the laziness point? Because I am a writer and an actor. We just won the strike. Let's go. But I also feel like, thanks, that's John. I also feel like there is, for me, and like I think a lot of people's creative processes, they forget that they need to like kind of go like numb and like sort of like NPC mode to just let the world happen and like to regain that creativity. Do you feel like you need to recharge? Do you feel like there is value in that like break?
I mean, no, I think mostly it's bullshit. It's fucking cowards that are like, I need a...
But it's a new season of
I
Fortnite.
need like a me day, like a personal fucking self-development. Fuck
Yeah.
you. Like, that is something you earn, and it is a privilege.
Yeah.
Because when I was on welfare and was getting free milk from the fucking state, if I was having a bad day and decided I needed to take a me day, my kid wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So like, I don't subscribe to any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you do it right, you get to be like a fucking privileged rich guy like me and just fuck off and do nothing.
Yeah.
So I can justify my nothingness
Yeah.
because I can, but I don't think that it's necessarily fair.
It doesn't
And
necessarily help you.
No, I don't think it helps. I think I broke myself
Yeah.
making a video every day for 800 days. I definitely broke something. It's bad. I can't figure it out. I'm forever broken. But I think the only way that the only thing that makes me feel good is when I finish something.
Yeah.
Like when I start a video and finish it, that is the only thing in life that's like, that is the only marker of progress.
Yeah.
In my professional life. And that's what I'm chasing. And that's why I don't cut myself slack. Like I call myself out. I'm being lazy and I hate it.
Yeah.
And I need to get back to work and I want to get back to work. And I beat myself up over it.
Yeah.
And then I watched War of the Worlds yesterday at 2 in the afternoon. It's a Spielberg movie, not one of his best, but my God.
Yeah, the guy can tell.
He fucking did a great job.
Always does.
Cruise is so good in that movie. Dakota Fanning is she's amazing.
Yeah.
The other boy I thought was miscast, but fantastic.
I'm glad that you get to enjoy them. I mean, I think this is also a good place to pivot to sort of this whole hustle culture idea, because I think that 5 years ago that was probably a dominating culture on YouTube of well, how dare you need to sleep or eat food? Just make things. Productivity is everything. And I think a lot of people are trying to figure out more balance for them. So just to sort of pivot to you did just run a marathon. How do you balance being a sports boy and also a creative? Because I think it seems unnatural. I think for a lot of people to have that sort of physicality where it's you're in that zone and also be proficient at other things.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, first on the hustle culture thing, there is a certain toxicity to hustle culture. But I also think that I think the glorification of hustle culture 5-6 years ago was pretty stupid. And I was a part of it. And I still think it's pretty stupid. But I still think it's correct.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I've had the privilege of meeting throughout my life, whether when I was a tech entrepreneur, a filmmaker, an athlete, any of the things that I've done in my career, there is a direct correlation with the most successful people and the hardest working people.
Yeah.
I don't know one person, I haven't met one person in my life who's at the top of their industry who didn't work harder than everyone else. That is facts. So yeah, it's toxic and working all the time and not sleeping and sacrificing your health and all that. It's fucking but if you want it, yeah, there's a shitty, fucked up price to pay, and that's what it is.
Yeah, life's algorithm is just a little.
It just sucks.
You gotta do it.
You don't have to. I think there's a very happy, comfortable life where, like, you know, where you're not. And
Yeah.
you find a place that works for you, and I think that's also to be celebrated.
Yeah.
And we touched on this a little while ago, but I think that's the beauty of YouTube now. I think YouTube now is more fragmented than it's ever been. Photography now, social media now is more fragmented than it's ever been. You don't need to be Mr. Beast to be successful.
Yeah.
You can have 20,000 subscribers that are really dedicated to your craft and what you're doing. They appreciate the niche that you're living in. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Like, what it used to mean to be a successful artist was to be at the top where you didn't exist. And I think all of us here live in a unique time in the world of art and creativity, which is that, like, you can find a degree of success that is manageable,
Yeah.
where you are celebrated by your audience, and that audience can be something much smaller, much more specific.
Yeah.
I talked about a collaboration I did recently with these dudes on the YouTube channel, and it's only about retro video games. Like, what a crazy, subtle, tiny little niche, but like, I'm a product of like the 80s and 90s. I fucking love Nintendo, man.
Yeah.
And I linked up with these guys, and like, they have a great audience. They built a career. They sell a coffee table book.
Oh, wow.
And they're interested in one tiny little subject that is for nerds from the 90s like me.
Yeah.
So I think that's an amazing thing. And me now is how I balance it is I just don't.
Yeah.
I justify not working because I gotta go run another 1,000 miles by myself and listen to some book on tape.
Yeah.
It was much harder when I was doing my daily vlog
Yeah.
and trying to figure out how to stay healthy and stay on top of all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it back then. I think it was like, back then, when I started my daily vlog, it started on March 25th of 2015. That August of 2015, I was $200,000 in debt.
Ugh.
So I had
Wow.
money,
Wait a minute. Somebody lent you that much?
credit cards.
Oh man, you
Yeah.
gotta teach me how to get some credit cards because.
Because I made a good living up until then directing TV commercials, but I stopped earning because I was doing,
Yeah.
I started my tech company. So like, I was definitely more broke when I was a teenager and had nothing, was making $400 a week washing dishes and like having to get money from the state. I
Right.
didn't have access to, but I had credit cards. And I was negative, my net worth was negative $200,000. I used to make excuses for canvas every month about why I couldn't come up with my half of the rent.
Yeah.
So the idea of like taking it easy or watching War of the Worlds instead of working that day
Yeah.
just didn't occur to me. It was not an option.
Yeah.
It was do it all because that's your only path out of this fucking hole you've dug for yourself.
Yeah.
Or get married.
Yeah.
Or it's over. And that is a really strong motivator. So like, I don't know how I balance things, but necessity is absolutely the mother of success. Like, if you don't have to, you're probably not going to.
Yeah.
So finding that have to, finding that reason, I think is a really powerful, really understated aspect of succeeding in any capacity in life.
Yeah. I guess I'll have like one more sort of YouTube question, and I think we can take some of the audience. Okay, cool. So my last question is about Mr. Beast because you know, he has more viewers than God, and he's huge and everywhere. So I subscribe to a really great Substack. It's called Garbage Day. Ryan Broderick used to be at BuzzFeed, writes it, but he wrote an interesting article recently about Mr. Beast in particular.
Okay.
Because he just did this video about like building these wells in Africa,
Yeah.
and a lot of what he does is like he gets a large sum of money and he gives it away or does some sort of big stunt. And no matter how much good he is doing, there is always like a group of people who are like, I don't know, man, he's just weird. And he tried to distill why people felt that he was weird. And so Ryan Broderick's hypothesis was that he is viral for viral's sake. That people don't really understand what the virality is for, or like if there is any other goal besides just go viral. I think a lot of times, and maybe people don't even use that language anymore because viral seems so like there are niches on TikTok. There are a million of people with 1 million followers. What is viral? But when people ask you, because I know you get this question,
Sure.
how do you go viral? Does it even occur to you anymore? Like, do you care about like hitting specific numbers?
No, I don't give a shit. I did, I don't. Like, that's why I talked about that example of like the video I made about the floods in New York. A mediocre C+ of a video, and it was the most watched video I'll have posted this year. Nowhere near the work I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
The correlation between qualitative success and quantitative success on YouTube, I think there's a huge disconnect. But here's why I love Mr. Beast and why I will defend him till the end of time. His mission has always been to win on YouTube. His mission has never been to be the most respected artist, to be the most inspiring individual, to change the world by communicating his message.
Yeah.
Like, here's a guy who, when he was a kid, the only thing he had was like a really shitty webcam. And if every one of us in this room was to be given a shitty webcam and told to come up with a video that gets 20 million views, every one of us would fail. There's just no way to do it.
Yeah.
And he sat in front of that webcam and counted to like 10,000. And the video was watch me count to 10,000. It's him for like 40 hours. 1, 2, 3, no cuts. The video went viral. There's no creativity in that. There's nothing inspired. But it's like, fuck, like I need to watch it to see if he actually did it. I'm gonna skip through it. Like, he had that in him. And what he does now is he's scaled that to such a preposterous level. He has teams of brilliant people around him that are like, how do we make a video that does another 200 million views? And it's like, okay, let's get 10 of the world's most expensive yachts. We're gonna need Tom Brady for this one and Justin Timberlake over here. And we're gonna fly in on a helicopter and we're gonna give away $1 million at the end to the pizza delivery guy. Go. And like, they're not stopping being like, how can we change the world or how can we affect culture? That is their stated goal.
Yeah.
And I think there's beauty in that, and I appreciate it for its honesty. What frustrates me are people who are out there being like, I just want to inspire the world and make a difference, and their only objective is to get views, because they're fucking frauds.
Ooh.
Like, be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest. Like,
What
if
do
you're
you
trying to
want?
make
You want
work,
views,
yes.
like,
If you just want the views, God bless. Get in line. Good luck. I don't care. But he's honest about it. He's always been honest about it.
yeah.
And I don't think I'd give a shit or anybody would give a shit, but he did it. Like, he did it on a level that is unfathomable. Like, the best example I give is back in the day when they started YouTube Originals, which has since been killed.
Yeah.
I met with the head of it, Suzanne Daniels, and they're like, our goal is to do what no one's done before, to create an episodic on YouTube that has 10 million views or 15 million views every upload. That was their goal, and they threw tens of millions of dollars at it. Jimmy's doing 200 million an upload. And he's just a guy in North Carolina who figured it out. I don't really get his videos. I don't watch them. I don't, but I celebrate what he's done for its honesty. Just like I celebrate when I find a person who's got like 37 views on a video and I watch it and I'm like, that's genius.
Yeah.
I appreciate this individual for doing their things because clearly this video was not made for views. I appreciate that and I appreciate him. It's that mush in the middle. It's those fakers in the middle.
Yeah.
Who are just trying to do it because they want to be famous or they want to be loved or they want to be liked.
Yeah.
So they make whatever garbage they think will get the most views. That I don't give a fuck about. I don't have time for that. But he's not that. And the creative's not that.
Yeah.
And you're not that.
Yeah.
And I hope none of you are that. I can't imagine any of you are. You wouldn't be here listening to us go on and on about whatever babble we're yapping about.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Are we
and
taking
we are
questions?
going to take a few questions from the audience. We have a few more minutes left, so thank you all for listening. We got names already. Okay, we'll just have to yell. Okay, Mitch, I'm calling on you right here because I call your hand first.
Excuse me.